Thanks for joining. And today we're going to be talking about AI levers to pull and key inputs for better AI-driven ad performance. So I'm Casey Anderson. I'm the paid media director at 2 Octobers, and I work with both strategy and execution in ad platforms. So I've been working on how to deal with AI and work with AI rather than against it for quite some time now. Today, we're going to cover a few things on the presentation. One is a brief and recent history of machine learning, the evolution of AI in ads, some levers and inputs to use to help with the performance, common mistakes, and the human element behind it all. So first off, there's been a big evolution in machine learning and how we work with it in ads. So we get a lot of questions from clients about how we're using AI in paid media, and they're often surprised to hear that we've been using AI or some version of it for quite a long time. These days, we're really just adapting to the evolving changes of AI, but machine learning was really the first step towards trusting the algorithm to do more. And that's exactly how we've adjusted to all the newest and latest and greatest in AI. So both advertisers and users know that the algorithm decides what type of content is put in front of us. So relevance and in advertising and advertising for relevance were the original use cases for machine learning. They all use the algorithm, which is guided by what the platform can ingest and understand in order to give new outputs. For instance, quality scores, internal ad ranking systems, enhanced campaign smart bidding, and feedback loops. All of these are important in understanding what AI is now and how we use it in the platforms. And this is really the timeline of how Google has evolved from the more manual side of ads and into this AI first era that we're currently in. So with that, the manual part of this was when we started bidding for impressions and CPC, and that all led to creating more relevant ad copy and tailored keywords that could give us a quality score for our ads. And that in turn moved into this more algorithmic era where mobile first bidding could help give a little bit more context and importance for devices and what you had in your ads to make your campaigns work smarter. And then from there, the machine learning assisted era brought us to a point where we needed to feed more information into the system for more automated and dynamic solutions. So responsive ads, smart campaigns that could point us in the right direction without having to make those choices for ourselves. And now we're at this place where data is used for really everything to create optimizations for how our campaigns perform. It's all data backed and it's primed for generative AI. And GA4 is part of this with the different types of campaigns that Google has from demand gen to performance max and determining how things are going to run across platforms. So that is the Google timeline of feeding the algorithm. Meta also has its own version of this, where it moved in a similar fashion because Meta and Google tend to follow each other in their progress. So the manual era of Google was targeting based on demographics and demographic buckets rather than behavior. And it was really the starting point for Facebook ads. And there's, a long history with Facebook ads and how the platform itself has moved from the actual look of it and the feel of it to where we are today. The algorithmic era moved us into allowing the system to learn more about behaviors and use behavior-based targets to predictive models. And pixel placements helped with a feedback loop. So pixel placements on the website that could tell us about what people were doing on the website, how users were interacting from ads to the website. And then the machine learning assisted era is when we got into broad targeting. Meta introduced a learning phase that we've become very familiar with, and understanding that it takes a little bit of time for Meta to understand what we're trying to do and who we're trying to target. It's always processing this information and redirecting its goals. From there, the AI first era of Meta moved a lot of this was based on policy changes and restrictions that required Meta to kind of relearn how to make use of the information that it was ingesting. And it became smart enough to where you could rely on its knowledge for the full user journey, and that could impact performance and help to target accurately. So now that we're in this AI first era, there's certain inputs that we want to make sure we feed to the system that can help it give us better performance, improve ads, and find the audiences that we're looking for. So the one thing to know about this first lever, which is audiences and signal inputs, is that we really need to have that first party data to give to the system. It's going to help find your customers. It's going to help find the prospects. And this can be with match lists from customers. It could be target audiences that you want to reach. All of these are used to define who it is that you want Meta or Google to locate. You'll need to make sure that you're also feeding this information, feeding these systems the right conversion data. All of this information goes into the platform to signal that you are attracting the right people, and therefore should continue to find the right users that are going to convert on your ads. The next one is creative inputs. This lever is one that gives us a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more control as to how we want the brand to be seen, or the message that we want to deliver to users. And both Google and Meta have their own sort of versions of this. And with Google, the responsive search ads and PMAX asset groups that you see allow you to feed in a number of different headlines, different descriptions and images, videos, all of these different pieces of content that can be dynamically generating new ads all the time that are tailored to your audience. Similarly, Meta has Advantage Plus creative options. It has flexible ad formats that use visual images as well as text variants to help deliver the right information, the right text to a specific persona or a specific audience. And one thing that both of these have started doing is using auto-generated assets. So whether it's backgrounds to these images, music, or enhancements that are made, you can choose these as you build your campaigns. And sometimes you can get into a situation where the platform will build them for you. So it's important to know that these types of creative inputs, while they're great to have, you can have the control by toggling any generative AI on or off within your ads. So here's a couple of examples. We've fed in imagery to the ads. We've fed in video to the ads. And from what we've given these ads, we see suggestions or recommendations on how AI can give within the platform can give you more options, whether it's background or if it's tailored ad copy based on persona. And over here is the Google inputs, where there is now in beta another version of AI for just generating text. So there are plenty of options. It can get overwhelming to know what creative inputs you want to have control over and what ones you want to test. But it is good to absolutely test, but also to know that you are still in control. With lever 3, there's bidding and goal input. So maximizing your sales, maximizing your conversions is all about bid strategies. And both platforms have the bid strategies that allow them to find those audiences that are going to do the action or take the action or convert on that goal through machine learning. We do this with optimization events, choosing the best event for your goal. We give it time to learn. So both platforms have, and this is not anything new because we've talked about that machine learning phase, but both platforms will have periods of time where they need to adjust to any changes that are made. And then these offline signals are what we know about who's converted, maybe not through an ad, that's fed back into the platform to tell us more. And finally, campaign structure, which has really changed over time. We look at campaign structure in terms of consolidating ads, consolidating the campaigns, rather than having numerous campaigns running with all different objectives or many ads. What we do now is try to consolidate budget and optimize at a campaign level. So this allows the platform to choose which maybe ad set or which ad is going to get the best result. And that can help your overall performance. With placements, you can still have control over placements on both platforms, but can sometimes be limited depending on how much you want the system to take control and find the maybe most efficient or most affordable placement for you. It looks a little bit like this for Google Ads, where in the past, we've tended to build fragmented segments. So having campaigns that were a little bit more precise in their objectives and in what they contained. So a broad match campaign that is specific for exact terms, or non-brand that's specific for competitors, things like that, where you are really pulling apart the details and building a number of campaigns and stretching your budget. And you could be stretching your budget thin by doing this. Whereas now a consolidated campaign structure is optimal. So having your, whether it's a Performance Max campaign, which allows for several different placements on different channels, and many, if you are doing e-com, many different products to run within a certain campaign. Now we're building campaigns that have a little bit less direction from us and more direction from the platform without handing over too much control, because we still have all of these levers that we can toggle on or off to ensure that if we want to hit a prospecting audience, we can still do that within our asset groups. And retargeting is still possible within our asset groups and within those audiences. So we're still able to build based on what we know and who we want to interact with. But the campaigns themselves are optimizing based on your budget and the sort of creative direction you give it. With meta ads, it's very similar. So building your campaigns with a campaign budget optimization with a prospecting and retargeting audience and different ad creatives that work for those audiences are all part of this, rather than trying to have several different lookalike audiences, many different retargeting audiences that rely on one or two ads. We're really kind of stretching the boundaries of who we can reach with Meta and the way that we organize campaigns in the new AI first era. Some of the common mistakes that we see are pretty easy to avoid, but one thing to remember is that even though AI is smart, there's still room for error. So building these campaigns, we try to avoid over-segmenting our audiences or over-segmenting campaigns themselves. We want to make sure that our conversion events are aligned with the optimization that we want. So any misaligned conversion events can throw our campaigns off. If we want to see leads, for example, we want to make sure that our goals are being recorded as leads and we're optimizing the campaigns for those types of leads on the website. Withholding first-party data can be something that makes campaign targeting trickier. So feeding those customer match lists into each platform, having audiences that are based on your customers or having audiences that are based on your target lists are really important for making this all work. But more than anything, we recommend planning for a longer learning period. It's really hard to know that things are working if you don't give it enough time to review the success. And this can be after an initial launch, after changes happen. Adhering to the algorithm's need for a learning period is going to be important before you can say that anything is working or isn't working. Auditing frequently is key because with AI always changing, you never know what can happen within the platform unless you are taking a close look at your ads and making sure that things haven't been toggled on or perhaps added to the details of your campaigns. So checking auto apply tactics regularly, ensuring that you're still in control of all of the potential text additions, potentially assets that could be created by AI within a platform is going to be crucial. Referring to your change history is one way that you can check this. It's going to tell the story of past AI interferences, whether they're helpful or harmful. At least you'll know that they have occurred and that you can take control of that. Keeping up to date with new AI features is also key to great performance with AI. So we always try to keep up with AI features and tell our clients about the newest thing that's happening with AI inside paid media platforms. So part of this is understanding what other advertisers are saying about them, who's tested them, how much do we know so far, is the data there to back it up. And then, of course, testing before you implement anything and knowing what those tests are showing you is going to tell you whether or not it's a good idea to continue to implement AI. And then finally, remembering who's in charge. So you are always in charge, even though you're working with AI, there is this synergy, this human and AI partnership that has to happen for it all to work. AI is not going to upload your lists for you. AI is not going to upload your creative for you unless you give it that direction. AI handles optimizations. Humans handle strategy, data, and creative direction. Your strategy is not going to be let AI do it. Let AI figure it out. Your strategy is the human part. You are the one who knows what you want to do, what your goals are, and how you're going to achieve them with the AI options that you have, so AI won't work against you. The best results are always going to come with feeding the machine well.